It's a big moment, this, because I've lived with troop carriers. I got my first one in 2011. That story is extremely well documented. It was the very first one brought into South Africa by Toyota to South Africa. Before then, troop carriers were not available in that country. And of course, I developed the roof conversion, which is now commonplace with the company at the time, LU Cab. They still make that product today. They call it the Hercules, and many other companies have copied it. When I say copy, they have versions of it. Some are very different, but the concept they have copied. So for the past 14 years, troop carriers have been part of my life. I've owned 5 of them. I currently own 2. This one here in Western Australia, where I live, and another one in Cape Town in South Africa. So the idea is that I'm going to not just do a reminisce of my Troopy ownership. No, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do something far more useful to you. And that is, if you are thinking about the idea of the Troopy as an overland tourer, am I one of the world's most authoritative, knowledgeable people when it comes to troop carriers? I don't know, but I'm certainly in the top shortlist. Having owned so many and operated them in several different countries and developed them, they're all different. And what I have learnt, I believe, is so valuable. I saw a brand new 2.8 troop carrier the other day in a workshop. It was white, it had a roof conversion, it had a rear bar, it had a front bar, it had lights, it had an interior, and I could have listed the mistakes. I would have needed a big page. Fundamental errors. And when I say fundamental errors, I'm not saying you're not building it like I'm building it. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying is you don't understand the advantages and disadvantages of the Troopy, and therefore your build, as you have built it, you are not going to get close to the potential of a Troopy. And the reason being is that person designing it, this is their, without question, their very, very first Troopy. And they have cocked it up.
I'm Andrew St. Pierre White, explorer, overlander and broadcaster with over 40 years driving 4x4s in association with Egon, game-changing simplicity. So this then may very well be the very last Troopy video I make. And I feel a need to share all I have learned, well, as much as I can in the next few minutes, about building a troop carrier. Because this one I will be selling to make way for another build project. And of course, those of you who watch my channels, it's the Hi-Ace van.
A small number of people buy troop carriers for the wrong reason. Maybe just like the look of them. The beauty of Troopy is what I'm now going to demonstrate to you. I'm going to set up my camp and I'm going to talk my way through it as I do it. And you will see why the Troopy is such a wonderful machine for this kind of traveling. Why do I think that a very, very fast, easy, quick camp setup is important? And the truth is that it's liberating. Because if you're, and it happens to us, when we plan a trip, we have something happen and therefore we know that we're going to arrive at our campsite, whether it's someplace we know or we're just going to find something, doesn't matter. The fact that it's simple means that we can, if we have to, arrive in the middle of the night and have, with certain things like travel buddy, food ready, and the camp is so quick to put up and get comfortable that it doesn't matter if you arrive at 9 o'clock at night. And likewise, if you're racing against time, you're doing a long trip and it's a couple of days of hard driving, up early, pack up, go, get the miles behind you, a simple campsite means that you can get a lot more miles covered each day. It's a very relaxing way of traveling. The tent isn't quite done, but, well, that's the bedding. It's in there already. Pillows, blankets, and the tent. And I could go to sleep right now. I can hear some of you saying, oh, I can do that with my rooftop tent. What's the big deal? This is the big deal. So if I climb in and I lift that up and lift that up, I can climb inside. Why would I want to climb inside? And why do I think that is very desirable? Because I can veg in there. I can get out of horrible weather. I can get out of terrible weather. I can relax like one would do with a camper trailer. But then again, not many camper trailers can you camp and then climb inside the trailer to get out of the weather. I have very iffy weather. I couldn't care less. It starts to rain in a minute. I take the camera inside and I veg out in there. If I need to make a meal, I can make it in there. So that is an advantage you don't get with a rooftop tent. And that is the major advantage of troop carrier. But here's the problem. Troop carriers have a number of disadvantages over a station wagon with a rooftop tent. Because I only have 2 doors, I don't have another door here. I can't access stuff that might be in the back. I might be able to, if you've added a gull wing into your station wagon, have access here and access on a side window, as well, of course, the back. All right, so in a troop carrier, we solve that in 2 ways. And some people that decide they love the Troopy, they buy themselves a Troopy and they build this Troopy, they get it wrong because they don't understand that it's 2 things, not 1 thing. The first thing is that you put gull wings. And now I have access to my fridge, other stuff. I have access to kitchen. I have access to my electric. I have access. And here's where a lot of them make the mistake. They block access here by putting in an upright fridge. And I did a video where I went mad. I still feel the same way. Stop. No. You don't get Troopy if you block this area here. You see, here's the thing with Troopy. I've just mentioned, access is difficult. Here. Now you put a great big fridge here, and that blocks access to everything except the contents of that fridge. So if the contents of your fridge is so important that it outweighs accessing everything else, fine, put in a fridge here. The trouble is putting in a fridge here, apart from the noise that upright fridges create, it limits access. And now, because you've put a fridge here, you're going to need access. You're going to need to get in and out so much more than you would otherwise need to, because you've blocked the flipping entrance with a great big fridge. Whereas, if you just take because everything in building a vehicle, Troopy included, everything is a compromise. You decide one thing, you're going to have to make compromises for other things. The way I see it is that a troop carrier, as I said, has disadvantages access. So what do you want to do with the interior layout? I think far too many people, they go, oh, that looks good. Oh, that looks good. That looks good. Oh, that... Stop it. Once you've got a few Instagram shots, it's finished. What you then want is practicality. How do you make an area, how do you make a Troopy interior build practical? It's dead easy. You allow access to as much as you can possibly do standing here. If you can access it from here, you're doing well. So I can access all my kitchen and foodstuffs, stuff like that. I can access it and I can put it away when I no longer need it. Likewise, kitchen and cooking utensils, and I can put it away should I not need it. I have extra space here for stuff. Now here, and here, and here, and here, and here, and here, and here, here are things that I use every time I go camping. And the stuff that I only use sometimes, I then put in those two drawers. And of course, I've got storage space underneath here. Here's the principle. When shopping for interior for your Troopy, stand here with your partner and say to him or her, what do you need to reach from here? I'm not allowed to get inside. No. Okay, compromise. I'm allowed to access some stuff here. I'm allowed to access some stuff here. Is that all right? We can live with that compromise? Yeah, okay, we're going to live with that compromise. So that's what we're going to do. I have a working table attached to the side of the vehicle. Great thing about Troopies, flat-sided. You can do this. Can't do that with most station wagons. It's too difficult. I have a cooking area here too, but here's a thought. Now I bet that if you were in a showroom and somebody showed you this, you'd go, oh, it's wonderful. Oh, it's fantastic. Oh, it's great. Not really. Why? It's too low for a prep table. If you're going to prep like this, you're going to get a sore back. If you're my age, you're definitely going to get a sore back. It's too low for a prep, okay? But it's okay height-wise, but not great. Okay, there's the stove. Very, very convenient. But here's the problem. If there are two of you and one of you is getting inside, in and out all the time, and you're cooking, can get in the way a bit. Again, you're limiting access by putting stuff here. Imagine now, I'm cooking, and there's the fridge, and I need to open the fridge to get my stuff out to cook. Hopeless. Sorry, darling, I have to stop cooking so I can open the flaming fridge. During my career with Troopy, I have tried out 3 different conversions. The Alucab Hercules, the Alu Innovations Kronos, which is also South African, and the Australian Headspace Camper. How can I advise you? They're all good, okay? You won't be disappointed with any of them. If I was in Australia right now, I would go for the Headspace. I think it's a better product. It's more comfortable to live with, and it's a little easier to pack away. But the Hercules is great too, but you're paying for shipping. So in Australia, Headspace. Really, just go. It's great. South Africa, you can get a Headspace. It's going to cost you a fortune. Is it that much better? No. I do want to talk about the Alucab Hercules. This is the Generation 3. I have to add now that it was donated to me. I did not pay for it. They contributed as part of my Africa Troopy build, and I'm very grateful to them for that. But that doesn't mean that they dictate what I say. So this, I hope, this
this, and it is, there is some criticism in this, is directed because I think it's such a great product, but it's not right yet. The interior finish is much better. The exterior finish, much better. The quality is much better. The front console, the driver's console, roof console, love it. Fantastic. You've really done a very, very good job there. But there's one of the weaknesses with all of these roof conversions. You have attempted to address and then completely wiped out all of the improvements you have made. You've made it a little bit higher. I don't know how many millimeters higher, but it's higher. You've done that because of repeated complaints that once the bedding is still up there, it's difficult to close. You haven't improved that at all, even though you've made it higher, because you have failed to address the fundamental reason why that is a problem with Hercules. It's the mattress. Actually, I'm using the word mattress advisedly. It's a very, very hard piece of foam, incredibly uncomfortable to sleep on, and so one has, if you're a normal human being, no choice but to add a mattress topper. Add a mattress topper, add a simple, duvet or something, and that's it. Even with that, it's difficult to close. And the reason why it's difficult to close is that you've added stuff. A table, I can't show it to you. I removed it. I played with it a bit and saw no reason for its existence at all. And it has a rather interesting tilt up, so you can lie in bed and tilt up the backrest. That tilt up takes this much space in the most critical part of the entire design, which is the aft part, where the tent is pulled in and you clip it closed. All of the advantages and gains you have made with the height are now completely eliminated by this stuff. That extra kit inside, the weight, the extra weight high up. Stop putting weight on your products to make them look good, because it affects the handling. So I would, if I was in South Africa, I'd order Hercules and put right there all that stuff inside, the table and the leaner thing, don't know what they call them. No thank you. But it's a great product as well.
One of the decisions that you have to make when building your troop carrier is, do I want performance? Do I want looks? You can't have both. Every time I've built one of these vehicles, I walk around it. I just not long ago got back from a big trip in Africa, and I'd walk around my Troopy and think to myself, how can I make it better? And there are things come up all the time. How can I even this one, there are a few things that I could make a little bit better. So it is an evolution. Here's something to think about. Did you know that the troop carrier is one of the easiest vehicles around to turn into a really, really mediocre off-roader? Because it's not about how it looks, it's not about the size of its wheels, it's not about portal axles and stuff like that. The most often forgotten part about this is the center of gravity. Weight distribution. Weight. One of the things you have to seriously consider and ponder is the question, do I want my Troopy to look fantastic? Or do I want it to perform really, really well? And what part of the performance envelope is most important? Because you cannot have everything. For example, if you want fantastic off-road performance, and that is your primary objective, or one of those things that you say, no, I'm not going to compromise on how good this thing drives off-road, then don't fit most of what I fitted onto that. Because a troop carrier has a weakness, and that is load distribution tends to hang over the back axle very, very quickly, and the moment you fit anything behind that line, think about it. Think about it. So this is by far the best off-road performing troop carrier that I've ever built, because I've been super conscious of weight. I do not have a water tank down here, as convenient as that is. It's hanging off the back axle. No, I've got one slightly smaller tank, and it sits here in front of the axle. But now I'm paying for that. What am I paying for? I would really like a gravity feed for my water tank here. That would be really nice, don't you think? Gravity feeds for water, just a little tap there. It's very efficient, really nice. The cost? A massive amount of weight behind my back axle. I'll live without it. I'll do something else with my water. So there's a compromise, and you need to ask yourself, what compromises are you going to make? Do you want 35-inch wheels? Yeah, because I want off-road ability. Okay, so you're going to pay for it. I'm not talking about money. You're going to pay because they are heavier. Okay, they have much higher unsprung weight, so it's going to affect comfort, ride comfort. And you're particularly going to notice that on road, because it's going to increase your fuel consumption. Off-road, depending on off-road, it can actually make things, fuel consumption, heavier off-road as well. But it's not a big thing when you're off-road, because then again, if you're going to put 35s in, you are talking about off-road performance. You're not going to be too fussy, if you're thinking that way, about that extra fuel consumption when off-road. You're looking for performance. So to me, my Africa Land Cruiser has 31-inch tyres, which I think are too small. But they're on that vehicle for a very specific reason, because it has the 1HZ engine, that really, really underpowered engine. What is the lightest? Because as a vehicle moves, engine through transmission turns the wheel. Inertia, overcoming inertia. Reduce the inertia and it'll accelerate a little bit better. Only a little bit, but it all matters. That's why with a low power engine like the 1HZ, you wouldn't dream about putting 35s. These are 33s, and I think 33 is kind of perfect for troop carrier. It's still got on the open road. It doesn't hit the wallet too much with the fuel economy, a little bit. And remember, the standard wheel size of troop carrier is not the same as 76 and 79. The standard size for this vehicle are actually 33s. They come with a very, very thin 95 profile, 33-inch. So if you put 33s onto a Troopy, you don't need to figure any kind of adjustment to the odometer. It's good. With the 79 and 76, if you change to a larger wheel, and because their standard tire, I think is 30, I don't even think it's 31, you have to compensate. More about weight. Height. Center of gravity vertically. Now, I know that I've seen it many, many times. Troop carrier owners, you tend to, this one that I saw had two massive solar panels and a rack on top of them. And again, so he, in that vehicle, had compromised his off-road ability so much that that vehicle would be the last one off the beach. It would be the one that they would be cheering on and perhaps needing a rope. And then everybody says, the Troopy's rubbish off-road. The Troopy is not rubbish off-road. It's a great little off-road vehicle. Okay, works very, very well. But if you put the weight too high up, it rolls like this. Whoa. And as it does it, getting off the beach, the wheels get lifted off
boom, back. And of course, as the wheel lifts, it loses traction. So the vehicle's going, oh, whoa. And why does it get stuck? Because it's not only too heavy at the back, it's got too much weight high up, which throws the centre of gravity. Because remember, troop carrier is top heavy. Out of the factory, it's top heavy. So of course, this here, I've severely compromised this vehicle's off-road ability by putting this on. But you'll notice I don't have a solar panel on top. I don't have a roof rack on top. I wouldn't dream. I wouldn't even give it a second thought. Put anything else on the roof of my Troopy. On my very first one, I had a solar panel up there. Since then, nothing. I won't do it because I'm prepared to compromise the off-road ability to a point, but there's a limit. That's the limit. Cheers. When deciding where to put your MaxTrax, well, it's an easy one. Have them easy to access. It's very important because typically, I mean, this is typical. What I'm experiencing this very minute is that I need to lift up the right side of the car. So, MaxTrax are not just good for getting you out of trouble. They are brilliant because it's always a good idea to have every bit that you've built into your vehicle able to do two things. Why carry chocks? Why carry extra things? And you can carry MaxTrax. You're going to probably carry them anyway. Well, I think that's enough for today. See you in a few hours. Oh, good morning. This is the beauty of Troopy. Again, I'm getting dressed inside. It's chilly outside. Very, very chilly. So I have the pleasure of sitting. I've got a little bench here, got my stuff here, and I can make myself comfortable. I know that during the day I'm probably going to be doing a little bit of work in here, so I can set up my desk here. And you try that in a rooftop tent. You can't. Right. Okay. And cut to that camera where you can see this beautiful surroundings in which I'm camped. How about we talk about awnings? Now, are you the kind of traveller that likes to set up camp, spend a long time, 2, 3, 4, 5 days at one place, and you need to create yourself a little a lager and a shaded area? You might have lots of people with you. Well, then these very clever instant awnings, probably not for you. I like them because my typical camp is, is a day, 2 days, occasionally. You know, I don't spend, it's rare that I'll spend more than 3 nights at one place. So, and often I'll travel in the height of summer and of course incredibly hot, and you'll want to, well, even set up an awning for a lunch break. Now, the thing is this, to get the most out of these expensive, quite heavy, weight high up, which is not what you want. If you want to get the most out of them, and you want to use them often, find one that's easy to take out and equally as important, if not more important, easy to pack away. Now, because the thing is that if they're easy to pack away and open, you'll use them a lot. Therefore, you get better value. It's all a value proposition. You're going to spend on weight. You're going to spend
on lots of, okay, put that here. Yeah, okay. This is a design problem with, let me show it to you. This kind of thing is difficult to anticipate because you can't know this stuff until you're actually camping. And the problem is here, that I want to link the awning, right? So I want to clamp that. But now with the table here, I can't reach it. So I have to close that. And then, so you'll look at awnings and you'll say, which one's the biggest? Of course it's important which one is the biggest. You wouldn't want the smallest. This is not the biggest on the market. This one, very nice one. It's Bush Company. It's South African made. Bush Company is an Australian brand, but like so many brands in this industry, they're not actually, it might be Australian brands, but they're not actually made in Australia. This ripstop canvas is very durable, very strong. It's fantastic because it's so easy to open and so easy to close that I use it often, which means its value is higher. But if you're the kind that likes to set up and spend a week in one place, I'm not sure if I would even get one of these because of the weight and the expense. I would have one with poles and guy ropes, and you could easily make it twice the size at a quarter of the cost and without a weight penalty either. I want to talk about switching systems and external lights. Now, your choice of external lights is obviously yours, but this is how I work with a central place where you control absolutely everything on a phone. To me, is an awful idea. Don't you want to get rid of your phone, or when you're camping, are you constantly with your phone? I thought that this kind of camping was that you could get away from every day, have a break of state, and one of the most important breaks of state in the modern day is to get away from your phone. For example, if I want to turn on this light, what do? I turn it on. I can turn it on from outside because I might be camping. Oh, I need light. Click. But because of where I've put it, I can also turn it on from if I'm sitting in the driver's seat. And it's the same with the backlight, and it's the same with the side light. Okay, there's the switch right there near the light. Would I ever want to switch the lights in the front of the vehicle while I'm at the back of the vehicle? Do you think that is a thing? I don't think it is. So you want to be able to, again, switch stuff from here. The best place I have concluded for electrical switching is here, up in the corner here. It's not where it is on this vehicle, it's here. Because it's very important. You must make those switches accessible from the inside and the outside. Here, it's easy, but if my table down, it's a little bit awkward to reach. I've got used to it and it's fine, but the perfect place is there. So what switches do you think you might need while driving? For me, it's the travel buddy. Oh, I now need to turn on my oven so that my pre-prepared meal or my pies and everything can warm up before I get to my destination. I don't want to have to stop to get out to go and find the switch. I can do. Okay, I've had that on a couple of my troop carriers and it's a big deal for me. The water heater, again, we might need showers tonight. Yeah, click, turn on the water heater, because often you would want to run the water heater, being electric, while the car was driving, so you're not using up battery space. It's nice to be able to do that from the cab. And also, for me, that rear work light. The only remote switching that I do kind of like the idea is a remote switch to turn on external lights from your tent. So if you were in your tent and there was a security issue, to be able to take a key fob or something like that and go on and turn on all the lights around the camp. That's nice. But the last thing you want to do is, oh, I've got a security issue. I have to now go to the one place where everything is switched from, a panel, and turn it on and go, oh, I need the lights. Go through the menus and everything and turn on the lights. Am I going on a bit about this? I just don't understand some of the technology that's coming out is not making our lives simpler. It's making it more complicated. And I thought this was supposed to simplify things. Let's talk a little bit more about the Troopy and the kitchen. Now, tables like this, these MaxTrax tables, are wonderful because they're the right height. They're also strong enough to be able to prepare food on. And so you might have a separate table, but you'll find that food prep, it's perfect. It's also great because it's close to the car, which means it's easier to hang lights. But one of the challenges when it's open, it's a little more difficult to access the fridge. Not impossible, and for shortish people, a little step, a little portable step or something to stand on will make your life a lot easier. And so you'll find that the area that you cook and prepare food actually is more to the side of the Troopy than it is to the back for those things that I have mentioned. If you're crowded around here, then nobody can get in and out. And if you've got an interior build that is limited in terms of how much access can be got standing here, and you have to climb in and out a lot, it's even more reason to keep this area clear. Now, the access thing with Troopy is a very, very big deal. It's what it makes it amazing, but it also can be what makes it very frustrating. So when you're building your troop carrier, you need to find out, you need to go through the machinations in your head. What's most important to you? And where are you going to do it? And for me, what I don't have in this vehicle that I think I would probably modify if I was going to keep it is to enclose this area here and actually have an extension of the kitchen. And I haven't done it with this one. And I think I miss it. But you know, there are advantages here as well, passing things in and out of the vehicle. So I like both, but I think I prefer the kitchen here. So my suggestion to you is that if you're building a troop carrier and you're trying to decide whether to create this into a kitchen with your work table and you're not sure, I would say if you can start off without the kitchen and then see how much you like it and see if that's a frustration and get a feel, and then add one later, because then you'll know exactly what you want in here. I used to have my coffee machine in here. I used to have all of the things that I might need to make a coffee or a tea at the side of the road, which was very nice. I could even do that without opening the back. Opening the back. Opening the back. Let's have a look at that. This might appear to you as a small thing, but it's one of the things that I like about this vehicle the most out of any troop carrier I've ever built. And it's this. Because I don't have a rear wheel carrier, opening and closing the back is that much easier, obviously. The rear wheel bracket on the Troopy is particularly strong. It's far stronger than, for example, G-Wagon, which is actually quite weak. The old Land Rover Defender, very weak. I had one and the door actually started cracking because of the wheel here. But the Toyota one is actually very strong, and you can put a wheel on this and it'll last you years and years, and it's fine. It's well designed. So you don't have to, like some vehicles, hang the wheel from a carrier. I've seen some carriers that are, I promise you, weaker because they're so badly designed, weaker than that the Toyota did on the back door. But here's what I was trying to get to. I can open access, ta-da-da-da. I can open this, a very important drawer, without even opening that. Might seem like a small thing. I promise you, it's not a small thing. Let's talk a little bit about water systems. Again, where do you want your water? Where are you going to need your water? Where are you going to use your water? You're going to use the water at the back here. We'll have the outputs at the back. I have my water here because I use it most when I'm here, and sometimes when I'm here. And this is a logical place and a very nice place to have the water coming out of the troop carrier. And I have a shower. That's the privacy curtain there. I lift that up and I plug in my shower rods in here, there, and I can have a hot shower. Now, I have this system built into this vehicle and I installed absolutely everything myself. I did almost all of the wiring myself and all of the plumbing myself, and you can too. Which begs the question, should you do your own wiring? Should you do your own plumbing? Now, not very long ago, I would say, look, if you don't know anything about it, then I would say no, but that's not the case anymore. And that is because of some products that have been released over the last 3 or 4 years that actually make it very easy for you to do it. And they are, I have to admit, products that I have been directly involved in the development of those products. And the idea of them is very, very simple. Keep things simple. It's a simple idea to keep things simple. So, wiring, for example, wiring. Could you do a wiring system in here? Because I've got lights, I've got a fridge, I've got another fridge, I've got a water heater, I've even got a little travel buddy, little oven, and I've got all of these things. Could you wire it? And I've got charging. I've got if I can put out a solar panel, I can put a solar blanket on the ground, and I can, and when I run the engine, of course, I have direct charging from the alternator to the start battery, and the start battery feeding my house batteries, and I've done it properly, so it works really, really well. Could you wire it? Yes, absolutely yes. You can wire it. If you can take a colour by numbers book and get the colours kind of right, I promise you, you do not need to send your vehicle to a specialist. You don't. Now, it might sound as if I'm blowing my own trumpet and trying to sell you my own products. And yes, I am. Of course I am. But the products were designed specifically for that purpose. Because what I saw is in the industry in every country, the standard of electrical installations was not high. And because they're not high, I thought, why are people spending all of this money to send a vehicle that needs wiring to people that actually don't know very much more about it than they do, and probably don't do as good a job or not much better a job than an ordinary person with very little electrical knowledge. So we created the products, and the one that is now, we've sold well over 1,000 of them. It's called the Egon DC Hub. DC Hub, it's an electrical distribution. But the secret is this. Okay, if you've got one place where everything is wired to, so in other words, paint by numbers. Okay, you take the start batteries and you wire it. And you take the auxiliary batteries and you run a wire. 2 wires, positive, negative, wire, put them in. The lights, fridge, all of the different accessories. Everything with the exception of the inverter, which takes very, very high current, or can do. The big ones take a lot of current. So you don't wire them that way. But they're very simple to wire. 2 wires to the battery via a fuse. Done. Okay, so it's not difficult. And the whole point of the DC Hub was to be able to, for you guys to be able to say, I'll do it myself. I'll do it. And I promise you, I'm not... No, you're probably thinking, I'm just selling his product. Yes, I am. I'm selling you the idea of you doing your own wiring. That's what I'm selling you.
Suspensions. All right. See, the first troop carrier had EFS springs. I tried airbags at the back, which was an interesting experiment with a tank, so I could change the levels, and which was really nice. In terms of the ride, it spoilt the ride, but it was nice to be able to, and if I was towing, I think it would probably be quite a nice thing to have. But I wasn't towing, so I just used it to level the vehicle. Again, it's nice, but I use a MaxTrax. I'm carrying them anyway. Why the extra weight? The extra complications? Nice, but why? Okay. The standard ride from Toyota Springs is pretty awful. It's yeah, you might be able to live with it. You are going to need to modify it if you're going to modify your vehicle in any way at all, because you just know that it's quite easy to make it so much better. There is not a great deal of advice that I can give you on this that isn't in plain sight. I would. There are. I've done so many videos on suspension systems, and maybe I should just get to the nub and the principle. Remember, your shock absorber does not support weight. They do not support any weight at all. They control the weight. The springs support the weight. So, if you've got springs that you find that your vehicle might look perfect, okay, and maybe a little high at the back, and there's very little give on the back, it's oversprung, so the ride will be horrible. Okay, you'll feel a lot of vibration through the cab because your springs are doing all the work and doing some of the work the shock absorbers should do. There's a balance. If your Troopy, when fully loaded, is a little bit down at the back, you've probably got the springing about right, because it's not the case of how it looks, it's about how it drives. So so the suspension has got to work when it's empty-ish and full-ish, and even at maximum weight. Don't put your springs in until after you have completed your build. All right, that's pretty important, because you won't know what springs you'll need until you built it. Those are parabolics. Parabolic rear leaf spring is going to give you better comfort generally. I like parabolics. They're made by Terrain Tamer. I've had them on my last 2 vehicles have been Terrain Tamer. 3 vehicles, 3. Very happy with them. Okay, but the shock absorbers I have tried. The basic Terrain Tamer shock absorber, there's nothing wrong with it. It works well, but it is not a premium shock. When would you want to go premium? Well, from day one, actually, because the difference all gases, okay, is because it's got gas, they stay cooler for longer, and therefore they work under challenging corrugations. The shock absorber will continue to work as designed for longer because it prevents or reduces cavitation, bubbling inside the oil, inside the shock absorber. Okay, that's the principle of gas. So if you're going to use your vehicle in heavy corrugations, you're going to want gas. But gas shock absorbers are not particularly expensive. Now when you start going to heavy bore shock absorbers, external reservoir shock absorbers, all they're actually doing is they're keeping the oil cooler. That's all these shocks do. And the cooler you can keep the oil, the better the shock absorber will work. And also, there's more to it than that, but that is one of the principles. And of course, getting the shock rate correct, because you can have a vehicle that is overshocked too, a shock absorber that's just too hard. So the springs are allowing it to, but the shock absorbers are stopping it. So again, there's that balance. And I can tell you now what's great about this car, but that's not really necessarily going to help you. You've been watching my show, you would know what I've got in here. It's not really going to help you if you're starting out. It's one very good option, and I've managed to. And this troop carrier is by far, out of the 5 I've owned, by far the best ride. The ride on this thing is sensational. And it's because I've put in a dual reservoir, 2.5-inch bore shock absorber set, and they are brilliant. You can get Troopy to ride amazingly. And my guess is one of the big questions that you'll have. Do I need a GVM upgrade? And I'm going to make this very, very simple. No. I conclude it this way. If you need a GVM upgrade for your Troopy is too heavy and it's going to be a crappy off-roader. All right, that's the sign. Second only to my current South African troop carrier, my V8 was the heaviest, and it did not have a GVM upgrade. But I can tell you now, full of water, 2 people, I was at max. Okay, I had maxed out. So it would have been, if I had done very much more with the vehicle, actually anything, I would have needed to get a GVM upgrade. Since then, the GVM, allowable GVM of these troop carriers has gone up, and the tire weight has come down. You absolutely do not need a GVM upgrade. And the problem is this. A GVM upgrade says you may now load the vehicle to X kilograms, as long as you use those shocks and you use those springs. End of story. You may not touch them. Even the shock absorbers. Now, technically, even the shock absorbers. And I say, well, how is that possible? Because shock absorbers wear out. Well, actually, the law states it's approved for those springs and those shocks. They're very, very specific. So the moment you do a GVM upgrade, you can't fit, unless you can't fit the really great shock absorbers unless they are a part of a specific GVM package that you have purchased. But if you buy the one GVM and decide to upgrade, you've got to redo the GVM and get the modification plates. Of course, this applies only in Australia, but it reduces your ability to get the vehicle performing really, really well. Okay? No GVM upgrade. You just do not need it. Another subject that I'm going to touch on briefly are engine modifications. If you're going to modify the engine, you're going to compromise your warranty. If you're going to compromise your warranty, you've got to decide, is it worth it? Now, I think it is. Because, you know, the V8, when it was tuned, it was I loved that engine. But in its standard form, yeah, it was all right. And turned from all right into fabulous. This, in its standard form, is all right. Not bad at all. Really quite good. Tweak it a bit, and it's fantastic. You have to decide on that. My take on it is that if you are affecting the vehicle's reliability in the short term, then absolutely do not do anything, because the vehicle manufacturer probably knows best in that regard. How long are you going to keep your car? So you might say, oh, I'm not going to do any modifications because I'm now going to overstress the engine. Now, there's an argument, both sides, but the smaller the engine, the higher the power, the higher it's working, therefore the lower, the higher the tolerances, etc., and therefore potentially the shorter the lifespan of that engine. How long is the lifespan of that engine in normal terms? In a Toyota, you're talking typically between 300 and 500,000 kilometers. That engine will be perfectly reliable, and they often are. If they're well maintained, they're reliable cars, they're well made cars. So Are you going to keep it for 300,000? If you are, then don't touch it. Just maintain it religiously and don't touch it. But if you're thinking to yourself, yeah, 100,000, 150, maybe 200, I'll probably sell it. Well then, why concern yourself too much with the longevity of the engine? I'm not saying that every modification is going to shorten the lifespan of an engine. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying if it does, because this is an unknown factor, will it concern you? Does it concern you? Now, if it changes that in the short term, i.e. taking a turbo diesel like this, they can be tuned to produce masses amount of incredible output power. You do that, you're going to shorten your life, the life of the engine, considerably. The higher the power, the higher the output, the shorter the life. So again, somewhere there's a compromise. And you've got to make up your mind whether that compromise is worth it. All right, there you go, inside. The wind is chilly outside, very, very chilly. So I'm able to sit in here. There's plenty of space for two people to chill out. Because what I've done is I've left the whole one side right to the driver's seat, all the way. Flat cushion. Now there's enough space for us to actually spend time in here, should we wish to. And of course I have the drawers, all of the drawers accessible to me, and the contents of the fridge. I mean, you might be thinking now, why are you giving up Troopy since you love them so much? Well, it's because of the high-ace van. I need to try something new. And also, part of my job is to do YouTube content, and the most popular YouTube content was once upon a time Troop Carrier. It's no longer popular content. And I know I've been hugely influential in not only you guys out there buying and operating and falling in love with Troopy, many influencers falling in love with Troopy, and most of them falling in love with them for the right reason. But selling these vehicles is part of my business model, and I know some of you have a big problem when I sell a vehicle. Tough. Deal with it. This vehicle is for sale right now. There's a link in the description. All of the components, accessories, all included. It's a fully inclusive overland tourer. What you see, what you have seen in this video now is exactly what I am selling. I'm not going to give the price right now. I'm not even going to respond to anybody saying what is the price. If you are really interested, go onto the page, the link is there, and find out what it is. And if you want to post the price on the comments, feel free. Try and keep the comments civil. Try. Just try. What am I doing with the proceeds? I'm building me a high-ace van. Until next time. And if you've watched until this far, thank you very, very much. I hope you've got something out of it. Until next time.